Hello everybody, Earl Music here, and welcome to another Bourbon with Your Broker. I'm super excited. I have two guests here today. They're both from Inland Title in Grangeville, Idaho. Our first one is Erica Troberg and Sarah Music. Before you ask, we're not related at all. We just happen to have a kick butt last name. And so anyways, I thank both of you very much for being here. I'm super excited because a lot of people ask me a lot of questions about titles, title insurance, title research. I'm not an expert at it. You two are. And so I'm super excited to sit here with you and talk about it. But first, we're going to get started. Our bourbon today is called Hucked Huckleberry flavored bourbon whiskey. It's out of Lolo Creek in Montana. I can tell you generally, I do not like flavored things like potato chips. It's a fried potato with salt. How do you get better than that? Bourbon, how do you get better? Anyways, if you're not familiar with huckleberries, it's a berry that's grown in a very small portion of elevation in the mountains. We have them just outside of Grangeville here, 20-minute drive. July, you can pick a lot of huckleberries. And so, super excited to try it. I put this in a whiskey sour. I put my own little mix on it. We didn't go through how I did it today because we're going to talk a long time about title. But ladies, go ahead. Let's go ahead and take a sample. Thank you guys both for joining me. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Do we get refills?
Yeah, we might have to.
Okay. All right.
We decided they're inland zingers.
Yeah, inland
Yes,
zingers.
I like
Inland
it.
zingers.
The new name for them will be Inland Zingers. And so, thank you guys so much for joining me. One thing I wanted to start with was, this is a question I get all the time, is I have cash and I want to close tomorrow. Why is that not going to happen?
Well, so the title search, a lot of people think that title, they don't differentiate that the title search is a different process than the closing of escrow. And so on a cash transaction, a title search is going to be the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's an $8 million transaction or a $20,000 piece of ground. Ultimately, the examiners have to go through and create a chain of title from the time that ground was deeded from the government up until today. That's how we provide title insurance that ensures that you're the vested owner. And so that process, it takes what it takes. It's literally, you've been there. It's literally going to the vault and looking at old books.
Exactly.
Oh, copies of microfilm.
Yes.
That's not the right word.
Microfiche.
Microfiche.
Microfilm, yep.
And if you've never seen a copy of that, it is god awful.
Yeah,
It can be. It can
nothing's typed, right?
Yeah.
It's all handwritten.
And the benefit is when you buy a piece of property, a month later somebody doesn't show up and say, "Hey, this is mine," right?
Right,
exactly.
I mean, essentially.
Exactly.
And so it's a pretty important process that
It is.
if I'm spending hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars, I'd want to make sure no one's going to show up and claim what I just bought.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
So in a cash transaction, the search, like I said, it takes what it takes. The closing can go a lot faster. On a closing side, when the commitment's out and it comes to my desk and we close it, that's where the cash transaction can be a benefit. So that's one of
Yeah.
those.
What cash really speeds up is no appraisals,
Right. No appraisals,
that kind of
no
stuff,
lenders.
maybe no inspections and that
Yep.
kind of thing. But
Exactly.
title takes as long as it's going to
As
take.
long as it takes, yes.
And so if the property happened to go through your title company maybe 2 years ago, maybe it's not
Yes.
as intense.
Exactly.
But if it's never been through here, you're going back to the
Patent.
beginning of time.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, we would go all the way back to patent
Yep.
and make sure you have a good chain of title to ensure that nothing's going to come back and bite you. We want to insure against that.
Yep.
And that's basically how it is. And sometimes it can take a long time, especially a lot of the property here in Idaho County has been family owned for generations. And that leads to us having to go back and make sure that wasn't deeded to, Cousin Joe and this and that. And we have to ensure that's the good process and
Yep.
that's the way it goes.
Yep. Yeah, lots of inheriting and
Yes.
That was one of the other
Yep.
things we were talking about earlier is people ask a lot, well, why does it take so much longer in Idaho County for us to get searches? And if you go to other counties, everything's been a subdivision for who knows how long. It's easy peasy.
and is computerized.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Whereas Idaho County, you have, your great-great-grandpa's ranch that's never changed hands, and the legal is 6 pages long.
Yep.
And so the examiners like Erica, they go through it line by line, number by number.
Yep. and this is something neither one of them know I'm going to say this, but I bet you they're both going to grin and agree. Not that you can't call them and ask questions and stuff, but if you're calling them and saying, why is this taking so long? And they spend 15 minutes on the phone with you, that's 15 minutes they're not working on searching your title.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
So,
Precisely.
be calm, be patient. Everyone's working to get it done. The real estate agents, we're calling, we're checking on it, we're making sure stuff's moving on. And so normally you probably don't need to call and say, why is this taking so long? Everyone's working at it. None of us get paid until it closes.
Until it's
done.
So
Right.
we all have a vested interest in getting it closed.
Exactly.
But we want to do it right.
Exactly.
A lot of people don't realize, simple things like a quick claim from one person to another can totally mess things up.
Yep.
And they don't realize.
Yeah. Or you maybe didn't pay your bills, or did something and you don't know about, or maybe you got divorced, or maybe someone died and you think it automatically passes to one another. That's another thing I think we definitely want to talk to you about was estate planning. That is key.
Yes.
That's a huge.
Go ahead and talk about why that's so important.
So there's numerous times, especially in Idaho County, we run into where a vested owner or someone in the chain of title has passed away. And maybe they didn't have a community property agreement. They didn't know they had to probate it. It depends on when they've been deceased, how long. That depends on what we would require and what we would ask for. And if people have community property agreements that are done correctly, if people have estate planning and things set up, it can make the process so much smoother. If you don't, then we're going to have requirements, and that's where it kind of gets sticky. And people might get frustrated with us, but it's like we have to make sure if there's any other heirs or people that are involved that want a piece of the pie, we have to make sure they're noticed and that they know about it, because you can't just sell it to this person and then the other great grandkid says, hey, where's my inheritance?
Exactly. And something I find it a lot here in Idaho County, and it's even inside of my own family, where a death has happened and they have not got it fully through probate and everything, and then another heir passes away.
Oh.
And you have that nightmare.
Yes.
And so I've experienced that. And so estate planning is huge because it shortens up a ton of that kind of stuff, especially if you have a lot of assets like land.
Exactly.
Right. Well, we always talk in the business about buying a house or a piece of ground. Most of the time is the biggest purchase you're ever going to make in your life. So spend some money and hire a licensed attorney who's going to make sure that all of your stuff is covered and protected correctly. Otherwise, I mean, you're just throwing away your investment because you could run into something that'll mess you up.
Yep. There's a lot of people out there that don't want to use a real estate agent, which is fine. You don't need an agent to do a real estate transaction. But I have seen so many nightmares, and you guys see them more often than I do. They go on the internet and find a real estate contract for 99 cents and show up, and sometimes a lot of people are super honest people and they're trying to do the right thing. But there are people out there that are looking to get one over on you. And a 99-cent contract off the internet's a real good way to get one over on somebody who maybe doesn't really understand what they're doing. So if you're going to do it on your own, spend $250. Go talk to an attorney. Don't mess up your life over something so trivial.
If you don't want to get a real estate agent, an attorney is a great way to go. Because they'll make sure everybody's covered. And we find people will bring in those purchase and sale agreements, and they'll start getting mad at us when we're like, we need this, we need that. People don't realize
we're intruding upon their lives. I say, well, I need a little more information than this. I need to ask you some questions. Your name's John Smith. Your name propped up in a lien search.
Exactly.
I need your last 4 of your social, your middle name. Sorry, buddy. So we try not to be too intrusive, but we're only asking. And generally, like if you work with a real estate agent, we try to facilitate that conversation because you already have a rapport with your client. You can talk to them and possibly gain that information.
And hopefully the real estate agent's doing their job and getting a ton of that information, so you don't have to call and ask for it.
And that wastes more of our time before we can even get the commitment out and get everything drafted up and send it to our attorney so they can draft the deeds and draft the.
So all you agents out there, put their names, their addresses, their email,
marital status,
last
4 of the social.
Speaking of attorney also, this is something I have to tell clients almost every day. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to interpret contracts.
Thank you.
I'm not going to interpret title commitments. Read through them. If you're not comfortable, you probably should go ask an attorney, what does this really mean? I have a feeling you guys probably say the same thing every day.
Yes.
We do.
Yes.
We have people that want us to interpret, recorded instruments such as easements or like any kind of legal recourse they may have with some, like a shared well agreement or something that can get kind of touchy, or even a shared boundary line. And we really say we are a disinterested third party. We're not attorneys. We cannot interpret documents. We show you what's of record. If you want clarification and any legal recourse or anything you could possibly do about it, contact a real estate attorney.
Yeah.
And
Licensed
we work
in the state of
licensed
Idaho.
in the state of Idaho. And we have a few great ones around the area that we work with consistently. And they are solid, and they get our deeds done, and they have questions, and they will work for you, and they're like, hey, I see this on here. Like sometimes we will show things just out of caution, and they can argue their case against this. Like, well, I don't think this affects because of this, statute. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to my underwriters, and I'll be more than happy to see what we can do. And they're looking out for their client, basically, which is what we want.
But the law side of it is that's a whole different skill set. None of us are trained to be lawyers, so we don't know how to argue that stuff, right?
That's not my job. That's not my pay grade.
Yeah. No, I agree totally. In fact, actually, I have a couple good friends that are attorneys here in town, and I tell them all the time. Every day, I tell somebody, "I'm not an attorney. You probably should go seek out one."
Yeah.
But I never hear an attorney say, "I'm not a real estate agent. You should probably go seek out one."
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't
So it's
say
not
that.
reciprocal, but
No.
but anyways, it's very important. Just read your title commitment. If you don't understand something, ask.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we can't help, because sometimes it's fairly simple and we can explain,
right.
but ask. If we think that you probably should ask an attorney, we're going to recommend. There's a couple of attorneys. Maybe go pick one of them. Again, a couple $100 maybe at the most.
Right.
Let them read through and tell you exactly what that paragraph means.
Right. Exactly.
So.
A lot of times, some of these attorneys won't even charge just to talk to you for a few minutes.
I feel really bad because my best friend, he gives me a lot of.
Yeah. They're nice guys.
When we're done with these bourbons, I give him half of the bottle. After all the title work and everything is done, title commitment's gone out to all the agents, the buyer, the seller. We kind of get to a closing period. And so, Sarah, I know that's kind of your job here. So walk us through a typical closing timeline.
So, okay, when the examiners produce the commitment, my job is to look over that. The examiners will put requirements. Maybe there's a deed missing. Maybe there's different things. So we've got to look at that and make sure we're addressing those things. So it takes me just a little bit because I also have to review the purchase and sale agreement. A lot of people think the instant their commitment comes out, I'm going to have answers for them.
Yeah.
And it takes me a minute. Because just as much
That's
as
the first time you see the file.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, but it doesn't have to take me long, and then once we get a hold on, okay, these are what things we might need to fix, then we will figure out which attorney is going to draft the deeds because it's standard. It may be different other places, but here we always have deeds drafted by an attorney. And again, it's like we talked about, those are conveyance documents. They're going to go on record.
Yep.
So, and sometimes, our local attorneys are great, but sometimes it takes them a couple days, But once we have those back, then we can proceed to closing. And that's where, I read all the contracts and the numbers and I plug them in and I generate, this is your bottom line. This is what you need to send, or this is what you're getting out of this transaction. And then it's just arranging, signing, and getting everyone's documents back. And I always have to remind people that my job, because like we said, we're a disinterested third party. So people get worried when I say, hey, can you send your funds to my office early? A lot of times people get upset or like they might feel a little uncomfortable, which I get. But at the same time, I can't do anything with your funds or your deed if you've signed it until I have all the pieces together. And it's like wrangling freaking cats.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with a buyer and a seller and an agent, and then if you add a lender in there too. So.
And that kind of brings up a thing too that I always try to make sure that my buyers and sellers both know this, but especially the buyers, is there are people in this world who like to take advantage of other people.
Yes.
And wire fraud is a big deal.
Big deal.
Yes.
And
yes.
so there's something I want you to know for sure. Nobody from a title company, nobody from a real estate agency is going to send you wiring instructions over an email.
Right. If we do, we will have talked about it.
Exactly.
And it's sent secured.
Yep.
It's secured.
And I remember I had this young couple, they were buying their first house. I made a really big deal about this to them.
Right.
Because there are hackers, and they might have hacked into your computer, they might have hacked into mine, they might have hacked into yours as the buyer.
Right.
But they've gotten really smart. It's not the I'm a
It's
prince from
crazy.
Africa anymore.
No.
They watch the transaction, the emails back and forth. They will copy your logo. They'll have your pictures. I mean, it looks
Yeah.
legit, and it says send your money here.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
don't ever fall for that.
Nope.
No.
At the worst case, make sure you call up and ask.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Make sure that you're doing the right thing.
Right.
And this young couple, the husband was like, we got to get this money out. We got to get out. And his wife went, whoa, wait. Earl said, don't ever do this off of an email. They brought it in. It was a different title company, but they had the logo. They had the closing agent.
Wow.
I mean, it looked legit.
Yep.
Yep.
And it was a scam.
Yes.
And so
and this
be
is-
careful with that.
Yeah. And this is one of the things that for me, as a closing agent, because in our office, there's just me doing the closings. So I depend on agents a lot of times. And so if your agent reaches out to you and says, hey, here's the wire instructions from the title company, that's a little different. If it's either me or your agent, and that's one of those things that in a closing perspective, an agent can be your biggest advocate.
Yeah.
Because they can help. When I only have to call your agent and your agent can get what I need,
Yeah.
it speeds everything up.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then we all get, the money or the house and we're happy.
Yep. But that's a prime example, though. If you're a little nervous, you're not sure what's going on, call somebody and
Absolutely.
ask.
Call.
Absolutely.
Because none of us here want to see anyone
No.
cheated out of their money.
And I see it all the time. I get emails and messages and memorandums and everything from our underwriters saying
Yep.
wire fraud, and also people trying to do deeds for you, fraudulent
Yep.
deeds and fraudulent transactions or
Yep.
lenders.
Yeah.
So we have to. That's basically our job. We're vetting.
Yep.
We
Yep.
are vetting along the
Everything.
way. Everything along the way.
Luckily, we've never had it happen to one of our clients, but we actually at one time we had we represented the sellers on a house and they were buyers on another house. 7 transaction of I will buy your house
Gosh.
if I can sell my house, and the first one fell for it, sent $200,000 to who knows where.
Oh my God.
And everybody had moved. Everyone was sitting, and this spanned like 4 states.
Oh,
That is
They were all sitting
ridiculous.
outside of their new homes, but none of them owned them.
Right.
yes.
Right.
Yes.
Luckily, it all worked out.
Yeah.
But talk about a stressful situation for
Yes.
a lot of people. So
Yes.
don't be scared to ever call and ask on situations
Questions are
like that.
awesome.
Make sure
Yes.
you know what you're doing.
Yeah, please ask us questions. That's what
Yeah.
we're here for.
Exactly.
Ask. That's
Yeah.
the best thing you can do is just
Except
ask
for
us
why
questions.
is it taking so long?
Yes,
Except
that
for-
one,
leave that one
maybe
alone.
not.
leave
But
that
anything else, we will be more than happy to help you. Like that's our job. That's
Yep.
what we do.
You know, another thing I've noticed that's happened to me and before, in fact, my very first real estate transaction, I took the offer, the guy wrote an offer for cash. We show up to the closing table, and there's a guy with him I'd never met before. And they kind of sit down. He doesn't introduce him or anything. And I don't know, they're friends, whatever. We sit down, and the closing agent said, okay, you have your cashier's check. And he goes, no, I got cash. And he laid out, I don't know, like $80,000 in cash, which she looked at me and I was like, I know he said
That don't
cash,
work.
but yeah.
That don't work.
Cash isn't cash.
So she calls in the manager, another escrow officer, and they all 3 count it. And then, but the problem was it was like $80,000. Problem was it was like 150 he was. So she's like, where's the rest of the money? And this guy, that's the first time he pipes up, and he hands her a cashier's check for the difference. And we're like, who are you? Well, I'm the lien holder. Then she really looks at me, and I'm just, holy cow, what just happened?
I can't.
That was quite the experience. I had a fantastic closing agent. Oh, she was incredible. She took it in stride. She had to go do all new paperwork to put a lien holder, and we got them closed and out of there that day, which was pretty awesome. But I learned a lesson right out of the chute, like
Yeah.
talk to them a little bit more.
Yeah.
But if you're doing something crazy, if you're doing something like that, if you're buying it but you're really wanting to put it under a different entity's name,
That's a big one.
like anything, like tell us what you're doing so we can help you out.
See,
Yes.
and this I run into this all the time because I'm the girl at the closing table
Yep.
with you, and they get upset because it's not in a trust or it's not in LLC, and then they get upset because we're backtracking, and next thing you know, I'm like closing the door and running out here and drafting new documents, and so anytime there's anything, even if you think it might be funky, just talk to us about
Just
it.
talk to us, yeah.
Because it saves so much time
Yep.
when we know what's ahead because we can prepare for it.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a couple times where I'm a single man, and then it comes out, no, you're not. Well, I'm
It's
going
not
to
the same
be.
thing.
No.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah. You haven't told your wife yet.
Exactly.
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 And so, the more honest you are with us, I mean, we don't want to, know the size of your pants. I mean, like,
Right.
we don't necessarily need to know what your bank accounts are and that kind of stuff, but there's things that we need to know to do our jobs.
Right.
And if you want us to do it quicker, maybe don't make us do it twice.
Right. Exactly.
And so, yeah.
Exactly.
Don't try to put it in a trust and then you don't let us know there's a trust.
Yep.
You sign it as individuals. Or it's an LLC and then all of a sudden, oh no, wait. Taxes. Oh, I gotta put it in LLC or something.
Yep.
Well, you better hurry up and form that LLC, get your letters filed with Secretary of State, and then let us know. And then we
Because
have
we're
to be
required.
active and existing,
Yeah.
and possibly corporate resolutions and everything
Yeah.
like that. Like there's so many facets
Yeah.
that have to come together. Like if
Yep.
you put it in a trust, we have to see the trust agreement. So you're not putting it basically essentially into a black hole.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can buy, sell, convey, lend on property, and you can also sell it if you ever have to.
Yep.
If you don't, your trust agreement is a 99-cent deal on
Yeah, exactly.
Google.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably not gonna be good. And then we are governed by the laws of Idaho. So
Community property
community
laws.
property
things
laws,
Like that.
it gets sticky.
Yeah.
And that's why if we're gonna need your spouse to join, or we need to know your marital status. We've had one, and I can't say names, but we've had one where they straight up lied to us about their marital status
Yep.
to avoid liens.
Yep.
And
It's a mess.
it's a mess.
We're going to find out.
The thing is,
Well-
I'm going to find out you're married.
Yeah.
It's of record. There's a recorded marriage certificate. Don't think you're going to fool me.
Yeah.
I know.
Right. Well, and it comes down to that, like, again, our job is to make sure that you are the vested owner of that property and you are free to purchase it
Yep.
and you can sell it.
Yep.
So you can't put it in a trust and we just kind of fly by it, and then all of a sudden you go to sell it and you say, well, I can't sell it because my
Yeah,
trust
that-
says I can't sell trust property.
Yeah.
And so people are always, that's a big thing, and for me as the closing agent, I'm always like, I'm not coming after you. I'm on your side,
Yep,
If we
exactly.
can work together,
Yep.
we're not trying to get things
Yep.
out of you we
No.
don't need.
Because quite frankly, I mean, these transactions, I mean, the people we work with are great and stuff, but I mean,
Right.
a lot of time for you guys, you meet them for 30 minutes at a trust table and never
Yeah.
again.
Yep.
They're almost like a pepperoni pizza to the Domino's guy. Like they come in, they go out. They're not asking for any more information than what they need to do their job
Yep.
right.
Yep.
And so help them out.
Yep.
Give them the information. If you're doing something out of the ordinary, tell us to begin with.
Exactly.
You're going to have way less issues.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Well, and that was one thing I was thinking of things that when you said, what do you want people to know? And I was telling Erica recently sold her house and bought her other house.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about hiccups that happen at closing. And again, it's that whole Domino's pizza thing, right? Like I'm used to it. And so that's my other thing with people. I'm always telling people, like, take a deep breath.
Yes.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I got this. We're going to close this. You're going to get a house. Just take a deep breath. It might take us a little extra, but it's going to be okay.
Yep.
And that's the other thing. It's like, it's so exciting to buy or sell real estate, no
Yes.
matter what's going on.
Especially when you got a young couple that are buying their first
Oh, that's
property
my
or something.
favorite.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
the best. That's the
favorite.
best one. Or just even just their first house they've ever been able to
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes there's the other side where you're selling it because you have to, or selling
Yeah.
because somebody's passed away. And we deal with all that, and we want people to know that we're not here to make your life difficult. We're not here to intrude on your life and your personal life and everything. But we need to know some things, but also we understand.
Right.
We've all lost people. We've all been in a bad spot.
Right.
We've all been happy.
We're
and
people.
we're people. We're people too.
Yeah.
We are not above anything. So
Yeah.
we just love people to know that.
Another thing I get quite a bit, and I don't know how much experience you guys have had in it yet, because typically in a really good real estate market like we have, there's usually not a lot of foreclosures.
Not a lot.
Foreclosures happen mostly when you owe way more money than the house is worth.
Right.
Yep.
Usually right now, everyone's got equity in their house. You bought it yesterday, you probably have equity in it
Right,
today.
right.
And so we don't see a lot of,
hope-
but I get a lot of people that call and they really want to buy a foreclosure house. And I'm actually have started my life in the auction business. I was in the auction business since the second I was born. And they call them foreclosure auctions. Typically, my experience has been it's a title company and they stand up to an empty room, read off the foreclosure documents.
Call the foreclosure. Yep.
And then they have generally, not always, but almost always, there will be a lender's bid.
Yes.
Usually for the exact amount that's owed.
owed.
And so they'll get to the bottom of the page and they say, anyone want to offer $110,000? You look up to an empty room and nope, and foreclosed.
Yes.
And then the bank takes over, the lender, whoever, usually go hire a real estate agent and fix up whatever they need to and try to sell it. Usually in that situation, they usually lose money. But there's not a lot of instances, in my experience, that there's great opportunities like you see at late night TV.
It's
for
always too
foreclosures.
good to be true.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
So I'll go back, not necessarily foreclosures. This is just what we've experienced.
But foreclosures, sheriff sales.
I'm talking about tax deeds.
Oh.
I'm going for tax deeds.
But again, any of those,
Those
too
are
good
the
to be
sticky
true
ones.
purchases.
Yeah, so mostly it's tax deeds. The county took it for unpaid taxes. We can't insure that. We have you have to quiet title that.
Yep.
So that means going to an attorney. The attorney generally orders a litigation guarantee. It's a product we provide, which shows all of the title issues and all of the sticky things that you need to clear up and notice those people, so we can ensure clear title. And our underwriters like, all right, we're good. We vetted it. We can do it.
Yep.
And even with foreclosures, you have to have the timelines. We have to go so many days after the notice of default.
Yep.
And you have these timelines you have to follow strictly. And if it's one way or another, it can throw a wrench in the whole thing.
And that's something, and I don't want to get too technical in this video, but that's kind of the difference of a foreclosure through a deed of trust and a foreclosure through judicial.
Yes.
Right.
And so usually that's your government, or in Idaho, it's typically 40 acres or more.
Yes.
They do a judicial foreclosure, and so it is a different process. But that reminds me exactly of, tell us what you're doing. We just had a client a few months ago hire one of my agents, went and bought 2 properties at a tax sale, turned around, hired her the next day. She puts up signs.
Oh, no.
Everything's fantastic. She immediately gets offers. And then about a week later, title company says, we can't close on this.
Right.
Pump the brakes.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And so now he's gone through the process and he's got it cleaned up, but it's been on the market for a year.
Right.
And people are like, there's got to be something wrong with it.
Exactly.
Well, and the funny thing is how much money did you actually save?
Well,
But by the time it's all said and done, you know?
And so, unfortunately, it's been something, and it was a pretty new agent. Maybe she wouldn't have caught it, but when she came and talked to me, I'd have been like, "Whoa, wait a minute."
Right.
How'd you acquire this property?
Yeah, talk to your
Talk to
agent.
you, yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that you're getting an agent for is our experience.
Yes.
Because, quite frankly, we can save you a lot of money down the road, especially if you get a good agent. So, one other thing I wanted to bring up is a question I get a lot, and that is, do I own the mineral rights? My answer is always, it depends.
Right.
So there's some different things that happen. One, no title insurance company in Idaho will insure mineral rights.
It's very technical.
Okay.
It's not black or white. There are exceptions to every rule.
Okay.
As far as we know, though, the 2 in Idaho County don't insure mineral rights.
Okay.
That is, standard exception, no. Although we will show if there are conveyances or in the deeds, somebody reserved some or some granted some or something, we can show those. But as far as mineral rights themselves, I spoke to my underwriter today just to clarify some things, and basically
It's a sticky one.
it's a very sticky situation that basically it's not cost effective, and it's not really anything we don't have this
Searching
professional
mineral
person
rights
to do
takes
it.
its own area of expertise.
You have to actually
professional to search
have to
that.
file what's called find a landman to search the whole record, every assignment, every deed, everything, and then he has to present that potentially to an attorney who specializes in mineral rights, and then they have to write an opinion letter to the underwriters, and we might be able to insure that, but that's a totally separate product.
Yeah.
So it's sticky, and it basically is not cost effective because we don't have the resources to do that.
Yeah.
We don't have the resources to search every mineral and every conveyance.
And it becomes super complicated because there was, going back, especially before Idaho was a state,
Yes.
Right.
and they were giving out mining patents like crazy.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
You know, and because when gold or silver, whatever was, you know, every Tom, Dick, and Harry went out and got a patent on a piece of
right.
land.
Yep.
Right.
And there was no real good system to find out if they kept their patents up. But at the same time, most of the time, if it's been severed, probably especially in the last 100 years,
Especially with state of Idaho, they reserve their mineral rights.
Yep.
If it's a state of Idaho deed, they are reserved them.
Yep.
They're
and so usually it will come up on title commitment.
It's a no.
This person has severed the mineral rights at this time. And it also might have special provisions. One time I had one that was, they kept 50%, but if you never went looking for anything, they couldn't come themselves and look.
Right.
But if you happen to find gold in 100 years, half of it belonged to them.
Right.
Yes.
So they could be written up a lot of different ways.
Yes.
But most of the time it's probably going to be in title commitment. And I could be wrong, but I'm not aware of any time in Idaho, especially in the last about 18 years I've been a broker, that somebody bought a piece of land and somebody showed up and went, here's a document from 1919 that I have mineral rights in. I'm hauling equipment in here, and
Right.
I haven't
See,
seen
and that
it.
would be the interesting
But that's the
thing.
problem. That's why our insurance.
Well, yeah.
We don't insure against that.
Yeah,
You know, we're like,
yeah.
Right.
we can't take that risk that somebody is going to come up and be like, great grandpappy, you
Yep.
know, he gave me this deed or
Yep.
gave me these, you know, mineral rights.
Yeah.
You know,
So
a long
it's
year
a
ago.
super complicated thing. So when you bring it up, because I mean, people want to like, do I own?
The minerals.
Homeless?
You know, you might get a maybe
That's
we're
exactly
not,
what you're
we're not
gonna
trying to
get.
be
difficult.
yeah,
or
difficult or yeah. It's just it's more complicated than a yes or no.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
very much so.
So-
And somebody could possibly hire somebody on their own and see. But as far as, and if you want your title commitment in a timely manner,
Yep.
having a person come in and search all that, it probably isn't worth your
Yep.
time. But
Yep.
I mean, it's all up to you and what you're interested in is in land.
And by the way, all of our buyers in Texas that are watching us, we don't have natural gas here. We don't have oil here.
Right. Right.
No,
Right.
It's not that big a deal.
it's already reserved anyway, if it is.
There's a lot of rock in Idaho.
Yeah.
So, great. Last thing, let's just get a little bit personal. I mean, how did you guys come about making it into working as a title company and as an examiner and that fantastic job, because it's super detailed. Not everyone's cut out for it.
No, there are definitely closing agents
Yes.
and examiners.
Yes.
I don't really spend a lot of time on the phone. I am pretty much nose to the grind and in the tract books and in the deeds. My husband and I moved here in 2018, and I actually was looking for employment. And my neighbor actually happened to work for another title company, and she's like, "Hey, we're looking for people. Why don't you come in, bring your resume?" And I went in and I got hired, and I learned how to be a title examiner.
Yeah.
And it was nothing. It's nothing you go to school for. It is on the job, generally speaking, on the job training, and you work through it, and you get. It takes a little while, and I'm still, up 4 years later, I am still
Learning all the
amazed
time.
at what things that I have to tell my underwriter. Like I type these emails like, I have this problem, this title issue. This person did this and this and this and this and I need help. Help, SOS. I don't even know how to approach this. What requirement do you need? And so that's how I kind of got into it. And then I had the opportunity to purchase the business, which was amazing. But it's its own thing. It's a very special niche.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. I mean, it's and it's such an awesome thing that you can have a chance to go in and learn a skill, and then that skill leads you to a position where you can buy your own business, and really work for yourself, and so that's really awesome.
Yeah.
I know Sarah. Some of her story is she was working for me
Yeah, I was
and was
actually.
recruited away by another title company.
I literally was stolen. Yeah. I was working 2 part-time jobs, and I got approached by another title company and a guy who I'm super grateful that I was able to learn from.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah,
I
right.
would not
100%
be-
agreed. I would not be who I am
I'm
without
gonna
him.
go ahead. Paul
Yep.
is such great. He just retired about a month and a half or 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I super respect him a lot.
Yes. Yes.
I enjoyed him so much. I learned quite a bit from him.
Yeah.
If I ever had an issue, I went over there, and he did such a good job of explaining it. And so
So
Anyone local here knows who we're talking about. Just a great guy.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
So it was-
Until he stole you away from me. And
Well, yeah. Well, and I still, even when, before he retired, I would look at him on the really stressful days where my desk was a mess. Because what happened is he came up to me, or he might have even had one of the office girls that I kind of knew reach out to me. But basically, I got an email. Do you want to be a closing agent? And I, to this day, I laugh because I was like, oh, well, what's that? Because again, I didn't have any idea what title was and what we do. And, well, you cut the checks and you do the recording for real estate transactions. That's literally what I was told. And I was like, oh,
yeah, I can,
I can do that.
Yeah.
I work at a bank and I work at a real estate office, and I'm fine. And so I jumped into that, and it has been awesome. So I love what I do because I get to talk to people, and I like paperwork, and so. But I still, like I said, I would tease Paul all the time, like, if you had freaking told me what I was getting
this
into.
was really like, why do you think he didn't tell you?
Well, exactly.
I was kind of hired on the thing. I had a choice when I was hired. Well, do you like this or this? And I'm like, I've been in customer service a long time. I kind of don't like to talk to people. I'm gonna go for title examiner, and I love genealogy, I love history, and honestly, you read some of these old documents, and you get to understand the scope, and you get to understand how everything came about in Idaho County, and the common names, and all these people, and you read the
really
deeds,
cool.
and it's really interesting. I love genealogy, and it's just so fun to see all this come together, and all the family names that are still here. Like, it's amazing. Like,
oh yeah,
that's great.
When I brought my wife up here to Idaho County, I was born here, but mostly lived down in the Boise area. Never really in Boise, but came back up, and I told my wife, I said, yeah, all the roads here were just named about 20 years ago, maybe not even quite 20 years ago, and they just put up road signs, and they named it for what everyone referred it to, which was the family who lived on that road.
yes.
Right.
Yep.
And so, we've got lots of roads out here, and when you're doing title searches, you're like, I know that road, I know that road. Incidentally, our family's road is Poor Farm. So
It's great.
they didn't name it after us, they named it the
It's all
Poor
right.
Farm.
Do we not
so.
have a music anywhere?
No.
Nothing?
No.
That's ridiculous.
Nope. So anyway, so Poor Farm Road is
It's all right. Own it.
that's our genealogy.
Woo!
So thank you guys both so much
Yeah.
for joining us. I learned a lot today. I hope everyone out there learned a lot. Really appreciate you guys both so very much, not only for this, but everything you do. I would not get a paycheck if it wasn't for you. And so I really appreciate it. And again, thank you guys so much. I would cheers you again.
We're going to need refills.
We're going to need refills for
You
sure.
are my first guests who have finished their drink.
Those inland zingers. They're
Yeah.
The
pretty
Inland
awesome.
Zingers.
Inland
good.
zingers.
If you'd like to know about an inland zinger, let me know. I was pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed this bourbon with the huckleberry flavoring.
I
And
did.
so strongly recommend it. It's out of Montana, not quite Idaho, but
Pretty
that's
close.
good enough.
Pretty close.
And I know we do this at the end of every video, but as you can see, it's dark outside. We are not on the clock. This is an evening. We've all are drinking our adult beverages responsibly. We always encourage you to drink your adult beverages responsibly, but thanks again for joining us. We had a lot of fun. We hope you enjoyed it too.
Bye. Cheers.